Where are we?
ברוך השם, הוא יהיה בחזקה הורייתי.
Baruch Hashem.
ברוך השם. Salim, any news from the parade besides the parade itself? Any exciting news?
I did it. I so so I a couple of things I realized. What the first thing is, like your whole life you don't understand Avodah Zarah. How could people,
Yep, yeah.
th
Salim, I agree with you.
this is like as close to as I can get to explain what does it mean without any like
You mean you idolize someone
but
being,
you see it you like with your own eyes. I think maybe this is the first time in my life I've seen what does it mean to idolize, truly idolize something or object or whatever. For these people, it's a fantasy that, they wait all this time. People line up from 5 o'clock in the morning to see somebody, just to see somebody. It's
now the depth of it goes like this. Hashem created a human being, any human being, Jewish or not, with an inner desire to hold on to something strong. The choice is your choice. Is it Hashem or in the older time, the sun, the moon, the ocean, as we learned in the Gemara, or in our times, this is exactly who you're following. But deep inside means we have a human desire to believe in something.
right.
This is exactly what free choice is about. Understand?
And the second thing is what you mentioned yesterday. There's two times I was never prouder to be a Jew. It was today and the day we went for Shas when we said that we did the Siyum
Yeah,
7 years ago now. I don't know, whatever it is, almost 7 years
yeah,
ago.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Never more proud than what
No, you're
you
much.
under you have what to look for. You understand, and here they're just
This,
like I enjoy basketball. I like watching it. I play basketball. I understand watching the game, one thing. But then after the game is done, just to go see the people, to see these and wait hours and the craziness. Yeah, you don't understand. Some of the people, like I luckily I got in. I was able to get in before, but some people I heard they closed all these streets. They you couldn't to get out of the station took them a half hour to walk around. They had to walk around Manhattan to go around the bottom. Some crazy stories because they couldn't because there was so much people they couldn't go anywhere.
yeah. I'm not exactly as you say. But I mean, this is shedding some light on the question that you asked a few times. Well, it's everyone's question. When, when Moshiach comes, how would it change the world? The answer is you see in our times that somehow when people are magnetized after someone they walk blindly, maybe Moshiach will have one of these kohort, not to change the goyim, but look at our brothers and sisters in Israel. People are so far. See, they said that this was really the power of Lev Trotsky. He basically delivered the Russian revolution to the hands of Lenin and Stalin. He used to go to a stadium and 100,000 people spoke, and he convinced them to join the Communist Party. People just, what do you need more than that? That in from the time of the revolution in the early 20s, people really believed that communism is going to, Stalin is the son of the world. But there is an inner need to believe in something powerful. But as you said, it's Rahmanut and these people that I told you there was I knew his name is Rabbi Yaakov Horowitz. When he was young here in Bhopal, a little kid, a teenager, he loved, as it happened, I think he loved the Knicks. And I forgot the name. There was a superstar that he like idolized. And he says he decided to go to a game. And after the game, he walked with the paper to this player. And he says, "Can I have the honor of having your signature?" The player, he looked Jewish, with black velvet yarmulke, peot. He says, "Get the hell out of here. I'm not giving my signature to dogs and Jews." The kid was stunned, he was an innocent kid. He told me a few times, he says, this statement opened my eyes for life. As I came home, I took the posters off the wall, I tore them apart. Even the man that I always watched on television, I suddenly you read underneath the
Truthfully,
film.
the truth is, this is exactly what an island is. It's not okay. There's a like with rabbis, for example, it's you could say it's the same to some people, but it's not the same because with the rabbi you learn the Torah, you have a connection to them and a physical connection to them. There's something there with the basketball player or whatever it is, football player, wherever it is, you're idolizing your relationship with something that may or may not, probably will never even know that you exist. Never. And you think, okay, if I see him, they're gonna be nice to me. And this is why he was so upset, is because in his mind the entire time it was a different relationship. And then
The Meshech Chochmah claims that the reason why Moshe Rabbeinu never performed the miracle without Hashem telling him is exactly for that reason. Because Moshe appeared to people such a superpower that if he would perform miracles on his own, people might start to idolize him. And he said this is the reason why V'lo yada ish et kevurato. As a matter of fact, he says that after this week's Parashat Korach, when Moshe for the first time felt that it's necessary to show, and he said, "Ve'im b'riya ivra Hashem et ha'adama." This is why in Parashat Chukat, people were upset with him. People told him, "You know how to do it. Why didn't you do it?" Hashem told him to. And we'll talk about the point that he's making is that Moshe Rabbeinu was very careful because he was afraid that people would get the wrong impression. Look a second in page 820, look at the first pasuk in the parasha. Parasha begins by Yikach Korach. Korach took himself to the other side of the camp. Then Yitzhar. Yitzhar is the son of Kehat. Then Levi. If you're already telling me 3 generations, why don't you add the 4th? If you have the Rashi, look at the Rashi. ולא הזכיר בן יעקב, שביקש רחמים על עצמו, שלא ייזכר שמו על מחלוקתם. שנאמר, בקהלם, אל תאכל כבודי. What is Rashi saying? Yaakov Avinu was begging Hashem that his name should not be mentioned. And if the name is not mentioned, but he is a grandson of Yaakov, it is. Pasuk doesn't say Ben Yaakov because really, the reality is if you're telling me Ben Yitzhak, Ben Kehat, Ben Levi, you know that Ben Yaakov. See, the Torah is revealing us something fascinating here. It says in Parashat Noach וירד השם לראות את המגדל, הטאוור אשר בנו בני האדם. מה זה בני האדם? אשר בנו. The people build a huge tower, Hashem is going to, says Rashi, you hear this? Bnei Ha'adam means descendants of Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon blamed his wife for his mistakes, and he did not have Hakarat HaTov to his wife. So these people, Dor HaPalaga, forgot that Hashem saved them from the Mabul, and Hashem helped them build a new society. Listen carefully what the Torah is revealing to us. The Torah is revealing us that the DNA that we carry from the previous generations for good or bad. Previous generations means I can see in myself many things that I'm similar to my father, Alav Shalom, and to my mother. And I'm sure it traces back to generations before. So here, Bnei Ha'adam, Adam demonstrated a lack of Hakarat HaTov. If you see here that Korach has such, it's difficult to say what, either such chutzpah or such, the seeds to this type of a behavior has to be traced to previous generations. Says Yaakov, I am saying it's not coming from me. Which means יכול להיות שזה קהת, יכול להיות שזה לוי, יכול להיות שזה קהת, but not. So it's not Stam Yaakov is praying to Hashem, my name should not. I am not part of it. Even the Shorashim are not there. In general, our free will is always, everyone has tremendous qualities, and everyone has chesronot that he has to overcome. Very often it comes from previous generations. This is what Yaakov is really asking Hashem. Look a second, this is a very famous Rashi, but let's read it as mature adults. Look at the Rashi Datan v'Aviram. Rashi says on the third line, listen carefully, ומה ראה קורח לחלוק עם משה? נתקנא על סירותו של אליצפן בן עוזיאל. He's jealous of his cousin. שמינהו משה נשיא על בני קהת על פי הדיבור. Moshe is appointing Elitzaphan ben Uziel, his cousin, to be the Nasi על קהת. אמר קורח, I have 4 uncles. Amram is my father's older brother, Yitzhar, Hebron, and Uziel. 4 brothers, 4 sons of Kehat. Says, I understand that Moshe took the priesthood and the Malchut, but shouldn't I be elected to be a Nasi? I'm going to, now, by doing it is basically showing as if Moshe is giving out favors politicians are giving to all the families. Every move that Moshe does in Chumash, it says clearly, כאשר דיבר השם על משה, או וידבר השם על משה, but according to Chazal, the seeds are seeds of jealousy. Did Korach feel it right away or not? Maybe not. Maybe in the beginning, Korach really felt כי כל הייתה כולם קדושים. But you see what all the commentators point out, Korach, if you are right, and Kol Ha'edah Kulam Kedoshim, how come only you can carry the Aron? How come the children of Merari, remember we have Gershon, Kehat, and Merari. Gershon and Merari are in charge of the beams of the Mishkan, the cover of the Mishkan. Who carries the really holiest? You. Why? Why you? Kol Ha'edah Kulam Kedoshim. See, very often a man can be so blind, and whatever he might say, he might be right. Look at the mirror. So why are you? I would like to do what you're doing. The answer is you understand that Hashem appointed Moshe to do it, and so is the Nasi of the Shevet Litzafan. But what we see from here, but we see it in real life. When people are really have a personal interest, sometimes they're simply blind, are much blind. Rashi says,
There's some candy there if you want. There's candy there if you want.
Ezra, maybe you can mute Ezra. Sally, maybe you can mute him.
Good, very good.
Rashi says, listen to this now. He takes the 250 and he is dressing them with a talet completely from Tchelet. And they are coming to Moshe. This talet needs tzitzit or not? Moshe says yes. They are asking a question that can be answered by a child in elementary school. If one string or two strings of tchelet under tzitzit makes the garment patur, if the entire garment is made from tchelet, of course it's patur. The reason why two strings of tchelet are making it patur, because this is the way Hashem labeled the mitzvah. You have to have 8 strings, 1 or 2 must be tchelet. This is what makes the garment beged of mitzvah. If the garment is tchelet, it's meaningless. The same question he has, if you have a room filled up with Sifrei Torah, do you need a mezuzah or not? Of course, Moshe says yes. They say, hey, mezuzah is only Shema, ve'ahavta v'yam shamoah. If you have here full hundreds of Sifrei Torah, tens of Sifrei, what is the comparison? Every door requires a mezuzah because Hashem is protecting over. Again, it shows you that if you are developing a certain philosophy, logically it blinds your personal interest is so strong, you're so invested in the case that you lose your logic. You lose your logic. It happened in the past, it's happening in the present, and it's going to happen in the future. I mean, just as an example, those who are for Netanyahu or not, regardless now what we think. But everyone understands that the state of Israel is in a fragile situation. Everyone understands that if we unite, everything will change. We had one of the hostages. It was for many months. So he says that these captives showed him how the left is protesting. And he says, they say to him, look what we achieved. I mean, when he became free, the left was very upset when he said, you served the Hamas. But look, but this is exactly what happens with Korach in every generation. And again, many people believe in what they preach, but they don't realize that the main motivation the Midrash, you hear this? If you look carefully at the beginning, On ben Pelet was near Korach. He was stationed near him. So he joined them. If you read carefully the Psukim, who went down? Who went down? It says Korach, Etan Aviram, and the 250. What happened to On ben Pelet? So there is a famous Midrash. There is a pasuk. It says Chochmat Nashim Banta Beita. The wisdom of a woman is building the house. Very nice. Who is that? Ishto Shalom ben Pelet. Please listen carefully. He joined Korach, and he promised them that he is going to come with them. And it says in the Midrash, his wife says to him, if you win, if Korach wins, you are in the same position. You're not one of the leading. If Moshe wins, you are in the same position. Why should you be mixed in? Says On ben Pelet to his wife, but I swore to them. His wife told him, I'll take care of it. When they came to his tent to take him out, publicly demonstrate against Moshe, his wife uncovered the hair. They saw it, they left. Fine. Says Rabbi Shmulevitz, listen carefully what she is saying. What she is saying is pure, simple logic, not intellectual logic. She tells him, you are not going to gain if neither side win. Why should you be into it? So why is the Midrash strongly praising her as Chochmat Nashim Banta Beita, a wisdom? Says Rabbi Shmulevitz, what we said before. When you are part of a machloket, you are blind. You don't see the real picture, you see only the picture that portends to you. You have an argument in a baseball game between two judges. You're a Yankee, you'll definitely agree with the umpire that says that the Yankees are right. If not, well, come on, everyone. The answer is this is the koach of a negiah, if you have a personal interest. Says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, in the midst of the argument, his wife had the wisdom to step back. Just step back. I'm out of the machloket. Then she saw reality. But again, the chokhmah was that she was able to take herself out. This is what gave her the ability to see the real picture. But as everyone says, and this is Pele Gadol Mod, why didn't they come into the tent? Because she uncovered her hair. You are doing a machloket against Moshe. You're not afraid of that. If you see a married woman without the hair covered, you're afraid. This is, again, a real picture of life. We have to laugh when you see it. You know what? Being cholek al Moshe is a much bigger avirah, because you're not only disagreeing with Moshe. If Moshe appointed his nephew on his own, and Aaron, the entire Torah that he gave you, and they are not afraid to uprise against Moshe, but they would not, which means the Torah is revealing to us that this is what human beings. Sometimes we makpid very much on one part of the Torah and the other part. יש פה דבר מאוד מעניין, look.
Rabbi, but what gave the Korach the chutzpah to even come close to saying that
Yeah, but it's a very disturbing question. It's a good question. Many, many great masters say not only what gave him the chutzpah, the majority of the people supported him. Which means he's not saying I'm going to knock down Moshe. Not saying I'm going to knock down Aaron. He believes that Moshe is very strong with the people and the things have to be changed. One of the great Hasidic masters over 200 years ago used to say, the root of my neshama is, I was in the time of Moshe and I was supporting Korach. He said, thank God I did not go against Moshe. But I support. Korach was a tremendous scholar, very impressive and mega wealthy, yes. Now, this is why it's so frightening, because every time you have a machloket in a shul, machloket in the family, it's very, very difficult. You take one side, you don't see the other side. You know, the Pasuk says after they were swallowed in the ground, it says, look at the Pasuk a second. You have the outscore, it's in 828. It's Perek Zion. And the Pasuk is Pasuk Hey. 828, it's Perek Zion, Pasuk Hey. The end of Pasuk Hey, it's a message to the Jewish people. No one who is not a descendant of Aaron should. This is listed in the Lo Ta'aseh in the Torah. So Lo Ta'aseh. But as you know, Bnei Korach, 3 of them, the last minute did teshuvah. And the Pasuk describes it, Ubnei Korach lo metu. Many Hasidic masters say it, lo metu. Every generation we have a Bnei Korach, which means every generation we have machlokot. In every shul, in every yeshiva, in every family, except real big people, try as much as they can to stay away from any machloket. If you look in the Pesukim, after, let's look at the Pesukim, what happened to the earth. Look on page 826 on top. ודתן ואבירם יצאו ניצבים פתח אוהליהם ונשיהם, the wives, ובניהם בטפם. Look at a very frightening Rashi there. Rashi says, בואו ראי כמה קשה המחלוקת. שהבית דין של מטה אין עונשים אלא עד שיביא 2 שערות. בית דין של מעלה עד 20 שנה. Rashi says the Sanhedrin would not punish a kid until he's 13. Beit Din shel Ma'ala lets it karet until he's 20. And here, babies were swallowed. If you want to see the destruction that Machloket does, so, but what does it mean? Why were the babies killed? Say Reb Chaim Shmulevitz is like, if you remember many years ago, the nuclear power in Chernobyl something happened. For the longest time, tens and tens of miles around the nuclear power were contaminated. As a Chaim Shmulevitz, for the kids that grew in that house, it's contaminated. So look a second what happened. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, if those people are going to die normally, this is not, my mission is a sheker. If Hashem did send me, the earth is going to open and swallow them. Let's see what happens. Look at Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Vayehi kechaloto ledaber. As he finished saying what he said, pay attention now to the words. Vatibaka ha'adama asher tachtem. First, the earth split. Now, ותפתח הארץ את פיה, ותבלע אותם ואת בתיהם, את כל האדם אשר לכוח ואת כל הרכוש. Now, do you realize that this pasuk lamed bet is a repetitive? The earth opened its mouth and swallowed them in the household. How said the earth opened and swallowed? No? If it opened, automatically you fall down, no? Listen carefully what the Al-Sheikh is saying. From a young age, I understood there was a huge opening. The Al-Sheikh says, first, the earth opened. Then, but tivla means she sucked in. Which means if someone is 20 feet away, a huge power is sucking him into what is that? You know, many people in Germany, these Bible critics say, it was a regular earthquake. In an earthquake, the land might open very wide. Here, look what it says here. But the chas alayem haaretz. After it happened, the land closed. This never happens. Right? Imagine hundreds of thousands of people heard Moshe Rabbeinu saying it. It happens right away. And everyone saw it. I mean, you realize you have to be frightened. You wouldn't be able to fall asleep. Look at the next pasuk. No, I'm sorry, not the next. Look in pasuk, page 828. וילונו כל הדת בני ישראל למחרת על משה ועל אהרון, לאמור אתם המיתם את עם השם. The next day, people are complaining to Moshe, it's your fault. The 250 got killed. Our fault. Moshe gave them a warning. Now, of course, what the people meant to say was, Ktoret is deadly. Why did you tell them to try the Ktoret? But I gave them a warning and they chose to be them. You hear this a day after you saw that families, possessions, money, everything is down. People are complaining. Hashem was so upset. Hashem says, I'm going to annihilate all of them. Moshe Rabbeinu is praying. And Moshe is telling Aaron, run and offer the Ketoret. You realize that by telling him, run and offer the Ketoret, he's telling him to do Avera min HaTorah. The same way that the Nadav Avihu had no right to go in to offer Ketoret on a voluntary basis. This is not part of the Avodah of the Mishkan. Moshe knows the awesome power of the Ketoret. So he says to Aaron, take the fire, run to the camp. Says the Netziv, this is Pikuach Nefesh. Pikuach Nefesh mamash, כן? You're allowed to drive a Atzala on Shabbat. You're allowed to do whatever you do. Look how many people died, 14,700. And the plague stopped in the middle. Who are these 14,700? Who are they? Those who actively supported Korah, but actively, not in a passive way. But you see, Salim, we know the story. You would expect that after that, no more complaints. The question is what happens. What happens is that we are human beings. And big miracles definitely have a very strong impact. But they don't change you unless you use the experience and you internalize it in a way. I know a fellow many years ago in Flatbush that got a new Sefer Torah, and as the sofer is examining it, part of it fell to the side, not completely to the ground, but was very frightening. So the fellow that saw it told me that since then I'm showing extra kavod to the Sefer Torah. I understand in order to restore kavod, when I saw the humiliation, here people are complaining. Hashem says to Moshe, take a mateh from each shevet. Let me place it in the Holy of Holies. Let's see which one is going to blossom. If you look at the pasuk of the 8:30, so each Nasi wrote his name on the mateh. Aaron wrote his name on Levi. Moshe is placing it inside. פסוק כ"ג, ויהי ממחרת ויבוא משה לאוהל מועד, הנה פרח מטה אהרון, blossom, very quick. The Gemara says, and the Rambam says, that this mate that blossomed stayed in Kodesh HaKodeshim all the years. And before the end of the first temple, when they knew that Beit HaMikdash is going to be destroyed, and they hid the Aron in tunnels underground, this mate that blossomed miraculously stayed like this forever. And there was a jar of man also there. But look at something fascinating. When Moshe is returning the matot to the Nesim, look at the pasuk if you have at page 830, pasuk Chavdalet, look at this. ויוצא משה את כל המטות מלפני השם. Moshe is taking it out. אל כל בני ישראל ויראו, ויקחו איש מטה. מה זה ויראו? שיצא, and they took it. They identified it because the name was written there. Believe it or not, again, it's not to speak better than them, but it's to show us reality. Believe it or not, they were afraid maybe Moshe changed it. I'm using an example. Let's say Zevulun says, maybe it's mine, really. So each one of them made a secret sign on his mateh. So Vayikhu, Vayiru, they checked, is my secret sign there? Yes, then Vayikhu. It's difficult for people to accept sometimes reality even though you see it in front of you. This is one of the strongest lessons באמת of the parasha. So have a wonderful, wonderful night. Bezrat Hashem. Next Monday night we will continue learning. We have a class tomorrow morning also. Laila Tov, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat
Laila
shalom,
Tov, Shabbat
everybody.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom וברכה.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Hi, Abba, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, how are you?
Good, Baruch Hashem.
Good, good.
Feel bad. Yitzchak invited, he said, he invited my younger kids to come. I think he's coming to you guys for Shabbos, right?
Right, yes, yes.
I don't know. Like my Avi said, like, he doesn't feel comfortable. My David's probably not going to go by himself.
I mean, Yitzhak wanted Avi to come along. Will be
Yeah, he
very.
invited, yeah.
And David doesn't want to come by himself. All right.
Yeah.
How about when are you going up?
I think we're probably going to go up, hold on a second. Hold on. Um, but I don't know, we'll probably go up, I don't know, maybe Thursday. So Avi starts camp Tuesday. I feel
Oh,
bad. He
wow.
starts camp Tuesday. He ends yeshiva on Wednesday.
All the camps start early because
Right. So Camp Aguda, right? So he's going to Camp Aguda, so it's more of a Brooklyn camp. So that's why it's most Brooklyn yeshivas already probably ended already this week.
uh,
So and then Aliza's starting Wednesday. Um, And then Chavi's actually being like she's actually working in the same camp as Eliza, but she has a wedding Thursday night, so she'll probably go up Friday. And
oh
Rachel
wow, each
and
one.
Racheli.
So Avi has transportation. The yeshiva, the camp is providing
So
transportation.
that's so the thing is with Avi and Eliza are both going up. They're going up with friends. You know, like you rent like a they rent like a van or something. You know, it's more
Ah,
it's a lot easier that way because if you go by bus, what they do is they make you bring your luggage the night before. So, like, and then it's it's not so geschmack going up on the bus. Most of the people prefer, going up on a van, a couple of kids, you chip in.
So who is going to stay with you? But basically, David.
Right, so David, and then Racheli will be there also for the first like week and a half.
Uh-huh.
She's going to like one of these traveling camps. I think she's going to Alaska.
Whoa. Whoa.
And then Gabriel's going to come up, for Shabbosim.
I really told Gabriel it's too much to take off from Shiva. He should come maybe every second week, but not every
Right,
week.
okay, so see, no, I'm saying, but if Abba, you don't know this, but first of all, I'm BMG, I'm just saying, stop. Okay, unless he goes, I'm saying, but first hit on Friday, stop. It's a shtickle joke. I'm saying, so if he could leave at 12 o'clock, come up, I'm saying, and then, he leaves Mitzvah Shabbos or Sunday morning or something. But you're right, he should.
Gabriel is a real mentor. He learns.
Right, no, it's true, right.
He's a massive-
He's actually going up. He actually is on his way upstate now. Basically, the yeshiva that he went to, Rabbi Stein's yeshiva. So they're having a lot of yeshivas do it at the end of the year. They have what's called like a yeshiva Shabbos. Basically, the yeshiva, they go someplace upstate. They have it's like a little like a Shabbos. Everybody in the yeshiva. So Gavriel's yeshiva, they asked the alumni. Gavriel's like the only really. It's funny because he was saying there aren't even that many alumni. Gavriel's year, he was the first year where they had Beis Medrash. He's really like so everybody else, like after, let's say, 12th grade or first year, you went to a different yeshiva. So he was really his year is really the first year that they have really alumni. He said out of the 14, he said about, like, I think maybe, I'm not sure if 6 of them already are married, maybe even a little more or something like that. So it's like they asked him, to come along, it'll be nice, so he's based, so
it's very nice. Look what
right.
he's
So he's going up, hold on a second. Hold on. See, he's going up already tonight. He's going to sleep over in Tribeca. And then tomorrow, he'll go to wherever. I'm not exactly sure. I think the yeshiva is going, where the old Silver Lake was, past Woodridge.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right. So I think that's where maybe the yeshiva is going. So whatever, then tomorrow morning, whatever, he'll head over there. See, he's going there.
Yeah, in Ballpark, you can see also that many people are going.
Here we have Rav Fishman.
Fishman was machtig.
Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem.
Life.
Oh, Hashem.
All right.
Moshe Mordechai Schulzinger, I mean, he wrote it in few of his form, but he has a serious question. He said, the Rambam writes in Igeras Hashmad, and I saw today, the Radak in Yechezkel says exactly the same, that anyone that stood on Har Sinai, there's no way that he can deny the Nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Because it says openly in Parshas Yisro, "V'gam becho ya'aminu le'olam." It's an open passage. So in his forum, in few of his forum, Moshe Mordechai Schulzinger, he sent it to Rav Shach and the Stapler. It's a serious question. I look today, I mean, it's original. The Radak says it in Yechezkel, I mean, I saw in a Sefer. Anyone that comes out of Yiddishkeit is a proof that he never stood in Har Sinai, because if he stood, there's no way you can deny. It's a starke kasha. So the language that they say is like this. I saw now in the Sefer from Rav Druk, the Ramot Druk, that the Imre Yames was asking it, or Rabbi Chonon was asking it, the Imre Yames also.
It's
So
what's the question? What's the question? So how did Kairach
how
convince people to go against?
how can Korach go the Choylek Mamash of Moshe Rabbeinu? Korach definitely stood in Har Sinai. Here I'm reading you the language. For the Rambam in Geras Tema. כבר הבטיחנו הבוירה יסבורך, כהודו מניכנס עורב לחברוי, שכל מי שעומד על הר סיני, שהם מאמינים בנבואת מוישה, וכל מה שיבוא על יודיהם ובניהם. שכך אומר הקדוש ברוך הוא, הנה אנוכי בעבורנו, בעבור איש מעון בגברי מוך, גם בכל ימים אלוהים. Okay, so the answer that the Stapler and Rav Shach both gave the Moshe Motro Schusinger was that als, I'm just trying to choose the right words, als emune, als logic, Hashem says, you'll believe for the rest of your life. But the minute you have kine, or taiva, or koved, this is not part of the avtocha, because the koved is blinding, or the kine is blinding you're losing your ability to see things straight. For instance, if Korach really claims, Kol ha'edo kulam k'doshim, what? How come you, Korach, are from the only Levim who are carrying the Oroim when the Mishkan is traveling? How come Bnei Merori and are not? Kol ha'edo kulam k'doshim, which means many things that he did is mamish against Seichel. Everyone knows, from a young age, you know it's yes. It's a medrash in the beginning of Asher Yoish Asher Lo Yolach B'atzas Rishonim V'derech HaTorah V'Moishav Leitzim Lo Yosham. He said that night, Moshe Rabbeinu told him next morning we have a public debate. Korach made a big seudah, and Korach is telling him a story. I'll read you the story. Where is it? Listen to a medrash. It's called Medrash Tilim, It's Medrash Shochan Torah. Vayakel Alem is called Oido. Listen what the Medrash, Loshna Medrash, I'm reading it from a Sefer Ukwati. Almone Achas Yesh Bishchenusi. I have a widow. Ve'imo Shtanayra, she has 2 young orphans. She had 1 field. She came to plow. Omar Moshe Lo Isachos Mishor B'chamoyer. She comes to plant, Sod Cholotiz Rakilai. She's coming to harvest, Leket Shikri Pei. Then, Trume, myself, she realized it's too much for her. She sold it. She bought 2 sheep. The minute the 2 sheep gave birth, Moshe Aaron comes, give me the Bechor. Anyway, then she's shearing them. Aaron says, look. Aaron says, Rashis, I guess, is mine. And she's crying with her daughters. I mean, you realize if you're a good orator, look, Aaron did to this poor widow. Says Rav Elyoshev Korach, you are the wealthiest in the Jewish camp. The wealthiest. If you really care, why don't you give him money? The mother said that the treasures that Yosef HaTzadik was hiding, Korach found one of them. Give him. This is a Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says you see the power making Ratzonis. But it's more than that. It's always easy. You know, my friend Rav Shmuel Kessler told me he was teaching them American history, the PhD program in CUNY. Says that, you know, when major disasters used to happen in Haiti or other places, so they used to make a collection in the department, yes? So he says big professors that wrote big books, they have $25 and they didn't stop talking about it. He says $25. He says, I asked $25 and the concept of giving doesn't exist here. Besides, says Reb Shlomo Shvadron, you had a neighbor, a widow that has a field? This is the midbar. No one has a field. No one is planting. So going back to the Moshe Mordechai Schwarzenegger's question, so this, the Teretz is all these tinies that he has doesn't make sense logically. But if you're really involved in a real machlokas, you'll become totally blind. You don't see reality. You don't see reality. So Rav Shachar, the Stabler wrote to Moshe Mordechai, the minute your midas are involved, this is not part of the Avtocha. But here he brings here Mordechai Druk that he brings in the Ibrahim told Rabbi Chonon that I mean I would say it even though I don't understand because he says Korach definitely believed that Moshe Rabbeinu was makabel everything from Hashem, but there was a mumer le'achis. This is what achis means. It's a maverick that you have to be afraid to say. This is what he said. No, but the ganze vote is, you know, the famous vote of Chaim Shmulevitz. Oil Ben Peles joined them from the beginning. Then at the end, when the Pasuk describes how they went down, Oil Ben Peles is not mentioned. So very famous, the Medrash says, Chochmas Noshim Bonso Beiso, Chochma of the woman, this is the wife. She tells her husband, if Moshe wins, you're in the same position. If Korach wins, you're in the same position. Why should you be involved? Get involved. He says to her, but I swore to them. So she told him, I'll take care of it. She gave him wine. She put him in the back bedroom. She uncovered the hair. And when they came in to take him, they saw the hair is uncovered. They left. Dr. Chaim Shmulevitz, here Shlomo Melech says, Chochmas Noshim. You see the super intellectual wisdom in what she said? She said simple facts. My dear husband, you are not going to gain from any side. Where is the Chochmah? Says Reb Chaim, the Chochmah is that when you are involved in a machlekes, you are totally blinded to see reality. You are so into it. So her Chochmah was that she was able to step back and see the facts the way they are. By that, she saved the husband. So this is really the explanation, even though there is a promise with Abachoya Aminu Lo'ilom, but the minute you are involved, so to say, in a disease called machlekes, it impairs your ability to think straight because you think only one way.
Where in a store house.
Middle of the show.
Huh.
For tonight?
Why?
you're looking at.
You know that the Ismach Moshe was the grandfather of the Alter Satmar Rebbe. He was Be'emetz, one of the Heilige Rebbes, many years ago. He used to say on himself, I was in the time of Korach. Me, as many other tzaddikim, supported Korach. Says, Baruch Hashem, I did not go against Moshe Rabbeinu, but I did support Korach. What he meant, of course, to say is, to us it looks like, רגל המחלקת של אשתי, רגל המחלקת אני ישיבה. Korach didn't come and apparently many people, so it's difficult for us to understand because what Rashi and Chazal are giving us, it's mamish hamachleket, but apparently there was more to it, to say that many tzaddikim supported him. But again, this is the koyach of machleket. The pasuk says at the end, "Ubnei Korach lo yimeisu." Okay, we know the pshat, of course. It's interesting that every Rosh Hashanah before the Tkiyas, Lamnatzeach Levi Korach Mizmor. Why dafke this Mizmor? On Yom Adin, you can see what happens on a decision to change, and everything changes. Lamnatzeach Levi Korach Mizmor. Kol ha'am tiku koaf v'riu b'chol hinot. We, the three Bnei Korach, saw exactly what Mishpat is and what the Koyach of Tshuva is. I saw today a very interesting Marsha. When I say I saw, of course, someone brings it. I looked in because it's look a second what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying in the beginning. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying like this. Boiker v'yoda Hashem es asher lo es hakol v'yikri v'lo. So Rashi says, Boiker, it's clear like right now at night we are finished, we are fine. Then it says in the pasuk, the Marsho says, Amavadi Gazach, the Marsho in the Dorim. The Gemara says that the Shemesh and the Yareach, can you imagine, came to protest to the Eibishter, he should interfere on behalf of Moshe Rabbeinu. And if not, they threatened, so to say, they're going to stop functioning. Okay, so Hashem answered back, how come when all the Avodah Zorahs take place or not? Fine. Says the Maharsho, Moshe Rabbeinu knew what the sun and the moon wanted to do. So he says, Boiker v'yoda Hashem. In the morning, you'll see right away who is right. Because as far as he knew, tomorrow morning the sun is not going to shine. He didn't know that Hashem reprimanded the sun. This is in love, Brio Ivro Hashem. But you see, this type of a medrash is a very strong raya with the Rambam that says that even the sun and the moon have potentially a bechira. The Rambam said it openly. I mean, you know, we say Shabbos morning, koyach ugvuro nosam bohem, yetzoram bedam, so yetzoram bedas, bevino ubehaskel. So theoretically, they have a bechira, but the way they explain it is, if someone is taking us for 2 weeks to Gan Eden and 2 weeks to Gehenna, the following week, do we have a free choice to speak Lashon Hara? Of course we have a free choice. Would we speak Lashon Hara? Definitely not. Because we saw Bechush what's Gan Eden, what's Gehenna. The knowledge of Yedias Hashem, the existence of Hashem is so strong by the Tzvah Shomayim that the Lemaisa they cannot do anything wrong. But potentially they have to. Look what happened after. It's Kedai to remember this. This is a very interesting. Many Balamusa, but Lapian, I think, I need to show everyone bring that. Look, if it's in Perek Zion, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe ve'imor, Emoir el Elozar ben Aaron HaKohen, Elozar, and Yorem, as a machtos. You have 250 machtos from the Choshes, and they should place them around the Mizbeach to remind people why is Hashem telling Moshe to tell Elozar, why not Aaron himself? Aaron is the one, Aaron is the Kohen. But the Meiri, in Brochus, you remember in Tfilas HaShachar, there was a revolution in the Beis Medrash after Rabban Gamliel reprimanded Rabbi Yeshua. He felt that it has to be done like that strong. So they made a shtickle revolution and they removed Rabban Gamliel for a short time from being the Rosh Yeshiva. After Rabban Gamliel was removed, they have to elect now a new Nasi, says the Gemara. Who is the right man to be elected? Of course, Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua was the biggest. Gemara says, no. If you take him, you are Mabayesh Rabban Gamliel. Because the main reason why Rabban Gamliel was removed is the way he treated Rabbi Yeshua. And if Rabbi Yeshua becomes the head, okay, at the end they came up with Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, finally they shared it. Fine. Says the Meiri, you hear? If Hashem would tell Aharon to do it, it's exactly as the Gemara says, it's too much for the family, so to say, yes? Remember, the Machtos belonged to the 250. This way, another person that was not involved is doing it. But it's a very dakus dike argoshe, how careful you have to be. But you know, we are old enough to know a little history of yeshivas and everything. That the biggest virus that destroys everything is machlekes. If you read the biographies, they're very good biographies written by really serious people. But Rabban Leib, dozens of times he used to say, you're 100% right, but be mevater, don't create the machlekes. He said many times, if all the dinim of Dinei Momedes will be closed, the Mashiach will be here. Again, people are people, and people have tightness, and people have but Interestingly enough, the Netziv has a very long shtickle, and he says that the 250 really meant L'Shem Shomayim, not to go against Moshe. Says they are the same as Nadav and Avihu. And he says in every generation you have people who are trying strongly to do much more. And since everyone knew that Ketores has to Givaldike Koyach, so they wanted to do it L'Shem Shomayim. Of course, it was wrong, because if Moshe Rabbeinu says no, it's no. But he says they will punish the least from all of them. The Netziv here says in Chidush La'avocha, Moshe strongly brings the Netziv, and he disagrees. And as Moshe Rabbeinu tells him to bring the Ketores in Beis HaMikdash. Remember, to bring Ketores without the Tzivu is the Yisod Oraisa. Elamai, it's Pikuach Nefesh. So Moshe Rabbeinu figured he should offer the Ketores in Beis HaMikdash, in the Mishkan. At least you're doing only one Avera. You're bringing Ketores. Shalom B'tzibur is the Gid Pikuach Nefesh. But if you take it out to the Machne, and you have two Averas, it's like you are Maktir B'chutz. So Moshe Rabbeinu really wanted to minimize the. But if you look at the posting, it says, Aaron is taking the Machton, he's running into the core, in a Hechel and Negev, Vayitem Esakteres. So the Netziv says that the idea of the Ketores was the idea of Moshe. So Aaron figures like this. I don't know if the Negev began or not. If the Negev started already, I have to bring it inside. If it's not, why should I do the Avera now? Let me do it. Let me run and see. So even though when he runs, he's doing a bigger Avera, he's doing two Averas, but there's a chance. Maybe it says that it's the Tfilas and Moshe and Aaron help. So I'll read you the version that he says. Very interesting. And it's saying, כל זה כשהוא ברור שכבר איכל הנגב, הוא do it inside. מה שאין כן, אם אין ידוע בבאר, הוא טוב לעשות איסור חמור, כשיגיע לידי פיקוח נפש, ולעשות איסור קל, בשעה שלא יכול להיות שאין כאן פיקוח נפש. Since Aaron was not convinced, he didn't know if the Negev began or not, so he figured, let me run outside, even though he did the bigger reason. So in the Harchev Dobo at the bottom, it says, זה יש ללמוד, listen to this. ביונטף שחליוס בערב שבס. יונטף is Friday. ובשבס יהיה סכונס נפושס. ונצרך לעשות מלוכה ביונטף, או בשבס. Again, פיקוח נפש או בשבס. If a choice to do the מלוכה Friday, where the danger is not yet, and it's a smaller Avera, or בשבס. יויסר טויב להקדים המלוכה ביונטף, יקיל משבס. Ober, ואם אין הדובר ברור, יויסר טויב, it says, wait for Shabbos. Even though the Yisrael is bigger, the Moshe strongly disagrees. He says, you have to do it. You have to do it now. The Netziv says, if you know for sure, do it on Yom Tov. If you're not, push it for Shabbos. Says the Moshe, since Sofer Pikuach Nefesh is derech Shabbos, so of course you can do it on Yom Tov even if you're not sure. But very strongly disagree. Listen, have a wonderful Shabbos, and next week I'll probably be going up. I'm not sure. I'll let Mordechai know if I'm going Thursday night or not. Meantime, have a wonderful Shabbos, everyone. Kol Tov.
Have a cult of
Thank you.
Shabbos.
Kol Tov, Kol Tov, Kol Tov.
Een vraag.
Yes.
Zogt zich beste met de schleikers.
Was?
Zogt zich zogt zich beste met de schleikers.
Oh, square.
Okay.
I'm happy you noticed it.
Schatch, someone.
Square.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Good enough.